I was born in a Jewish family to Jewish parents. I remember going to shul through my years growing up, going to a Jewish summer camp, and most importantly, going to Jewish day schools, from kindergarten all the way through 12th grade. I remember hearing sermons about the IDF, and having camp counselors from the IDF, and learning throughout all of it that Israel is not only necessary, but good. I now believe the opposite, and this is the story why. Starting in 5th grade, I changed schools to a better Jewish day school. Compared to the previous one I went to, this grade was massive. The old one was only about 18 students. And I was told it would be less forcefully religious than the previous school. By this point in my life, I was jaded by Judaism due to that previous school. I still learned Hebrew and practiced reading Torah like a good student, but I started feeling something off about anything a Jewish day school taught us. Fast forwarding to middle school, and the Israeli Space Agency was trying to plan an unmanned flight on the moon. While this mission failed, I remember every detail of it as the teacher put it on for the class to watch live. Like many other students, I was not eager to watch it, but by this point, I believed that the current Israeli administration was bad, but also that it was still a fundamentally good country. This is the last year I believed that. In 8th grade, between COVID and the BLM protests, I did not think about Israel, but it did gain a deeper understanding of systemic injustice, which led me to believe in the two-state solution, which carried over for the next few years. Almost when 9th grade ended, in 2021, the crisis known as the Unity Intifada occurred. Following a Supreme Court ruling in Israel that allowed 6 Palestinian families to be forcefully evicted from their homes. This led to mass protests which got escalated when Israel deployed riot police. It eventually got to the point where Hamas bombed Israel. All I heard was that Israel was bombed. None of the context surrounding it. While I do condemn the bombings, as people should not be harmed, once I found the context, I was appalled. Not just by the Supreme Court ruling, but by the fact that my school did not mention any of the context. Following this was a horrific bombing campaign by Israel to the Gaza Strip, killing over 120 people. I started reading news several times a day for the next week and a half, hoping it ended, but only saw the death toll grow. Once the 11 days of bloodshed were over, I remember seeing how many people Israel killed, and lost all support for it. Who guaranteed that I would never support Israel again happened the following school year. In 10th grade, we had a trip to Israel. It was supposed to happen in 9th grade, but due to COVID it got delayed. While not mandatory, I still decided to go, even if only just to see another country, even if I didn't believe it had any right to be. While I was able to get souvenirs and delicious food at shuks and had access to holy sites, even though by this point I was not religious, I just remember visiting them and still praying. I remember seeing, just over the west wall, the Dome of the Rock. Around this time, many Palestinians were not only barred from this holy site, but attacked by police and potentially killed. I didn't feel sad, but angry at what was ignored. Our tour guide pretended that everything was all hunky-dory, that Palestinians were just another group living in Israel. Despite that memory, I remember having a good time in Israel with friends. That was the worst part of it. I'm just some random guy, and I was treated better than the indigenous people of the land. We toured land that was stolen and pilfered, and it was fun. At this point, I knew Israel was an apartheid state, but I still considered going back. Maybe with a different administration, they could allow Palestinians to live in peace. Or maybe this, or maybe that. I told myself every day. I was told every day that Israel was necessary, so even though I didn't support it at that point, I was still considering going on another school trip to Israel in senior year. Then senior year happened, and one of the first things that happened was October 7th. Had Israel not started a genocidal bombing campaign on civilians and doctors and journalists and everyone, I likely would have still gone. A thought that haunts me deeply. But I had to make a decision on if I was going or not before it was too late. Then my friends decided not to go. That pulled me back to reality. Why should I visit a genocidal regime? Then the days went by and the death toll kept rising, and 3 hostages were killed by Israel, and then I realized. Israel was not committing a genocide now. They were committing one from the state's very inception. They were looking for any excuse to kill Palestinians faster and found one on October 7th. Looking back on a picture from the 10th grade trip, I felt disgust. I was, whether I realized it or not at the time, complicit in a genocide by giving Israel tourist income. I wanted to throw away the picture, but my brother told me to keep it, as a reminder of the inequality baked into Israel. Why its existence as a Jewish ethno-state is unjust, and that it cannot stay. I look back on that picture periodically to remember that I was allowed to have a good time, but that 2 million people in Gaza cannot even get food without potentially getting shot. People in the West Bank have their homes and lands stolen. Not just people, but the flora too are killed. Israel kills olive groves tended to by Palestinians that are hundreds of years old, only to replace them with invasive plants from Europe. This cannot be allowed to continue. I should not have a better time in a people's stolen land than they can. And I believe that there should only be one state with equal rights for all its people. Israel cannot be allowed to exist. Linked below is a GoFundMe to help get people in Gaza food. While the US and Israel are claiming to let food through, it is vastly less than what is necessary, and Israel is killing people at the aid sites. Thank you for watching.